It can be difficult to know how to support and help dementia residents in dementia facilities, especially if you haven't worked in a medical facility before and you go into the dementia unit and everyone's sitting around the TV, lots of grey-haired ladies, and it seems that all the staff are running around being busy, but you're never really sure as to what activities they're actually doing or which staff are responsible for which task. So if you get a copy of the clinical notes, everything's laid out, and from there you can start to get the jigsaw puzzle piece together. So initially, in terms of the clinical notes themselves, there is a lot to study, and it is best to look at it as studiously, get the pile of notes and just start to go through everything page by page. Now, in terms of terminology, there is a lot to know. So if you have a friend or family member who's a nurse or a carer who's worked in a dementia facility, that's good. You can take the notes and have a cup of coffee with them and highlight the aspects that you're not clear on, and they can clarify that for you. But if you haven't got someone to go to in that way, take the notes to the dementia unit, for example, in your handbag. I mean, they just fold them up. And if, for example, you know that your mother, from the clinical notes, you know that your mother has a shower at 10 o'clock and hair washing is one on a Monday, and she gets really stressed with that. So you've said to the carer that you will come at 10:30 after she's had the shower so that you can sit with her, to have a cup of tea with her to help her calm down. Now, at the same time, you can ask the carer the medical terminology in the notes at that time. She'll be quite happy to help with that. It will only take a minute or two. And all the carers need to know the medical terminology. In fact, every day they have to write down all the details of your parent or mother in terms of showering, dressing, eating, hydration, so many details that they have to fill out in the clinical notes, all of which will be there in your handbag, and all the nurses' notes and the doctor's notes and the medications, etc. So it really takes time. It takes, it would take a good 2-3 weeks, I'd say, to understand probably even 4, but say 2-3 weeks to get to know the clinical notes thoroughly. And that's studying quite conscientiously. It is a lot of work, but the thing is, once you research something, it becomes interesting. And with that interest, you'll find that your whole interest in the place will actually change. I mean, everything becomes interesting once you research it. No matter what you research, there'll be something interesting in everything. So dementia residents are just the same. In fact, dementia units are just the same. In fact, more so. I mean, dementia units are really interesting places and entertaining places. And dementia residents, very interesting people. There's so much to learn. In fact, what you can do, what often happens is that as you research something, as with anything, you get a different perspective on things, and it's that perspective that interests you that will motivate you to learn more. So if, for example, you're a person who is interested in supporting vulnerable people, well, certainly in a dementia unit, those residents who haven't got friends and family visiting them, they're a lot more vulnerable than those residents that are supported. And so if you're interested in that group of people, you may well find that you befriend 1 or 2 of these people when you come to visit your mother, and that you say hello, you say hi. Sometimes they come and sit at your table and have a cup of tea and a muffin or something with you, and you have a chat, and they get to recognise you. This does happen. That residents get to recognise relatives who befriend them. Isn't that amazing? Sometimes they don't recognise their own family if they don't see them very often, but they do recognise relatives that befriend them, regularly visiting relatives. And it gives them so much happiness. If they get to recognise you 2 or 3 times a week, and they get a lovely smile and a hello, and maybe a time at the table having a cup of tea with you and your parent, that's great. That's very fulfilling, very supportive for them, and it works wonderfly well. And in dementia units that are socially healthy, you will find there will be 2 or 3 relatives who will befriend the residents that aren't supported by friends and family, and in that way everyone has someone to support them. Another perspective or point of interest could be that if you read, if you like, medical novels, for example, you know, love stories, I think they are, I'm not sure, I don't read them myself, but anyway, medical novels and such like. So if you're into that sort of thing, reading the novels, but you've never really spent much time in a medical facility, even though dementia units are not like hospitals, more like nursing homes, but a bit livelier, then of course you know quite a bit of background from your novels that you've been reading. At least you know that there is a routine, that there's nurses, that there's medical rounds, that doctors come in, etc. So from what you've read, you can piece together a certain amount, and then piece together the rest of the information, either through observation or reading the clinical notes, or doing both. And in that way, you're getting a 3D picture of a dementia unit, what goes on in the background, because the more information you know, the more influential you'll be. If the staff know that you've read the clinical notes, that you're informed and that you're interested, they will go out of their way to give you information. They'll be happy you've made the effort to update on all this information, and that you're upskilled on everything to do with your mother, and interested in your mother, in the residents, and indeed in the staff and the community. They will recognise that, and as a result of that will give you all, you know, give you more information, all those important pieces of information that you miss out on if you're not there on a day-to-day basis, and if you're not part of that, you know, social networking, where all that important information is given that's not always necessarily in the clinical notes. So like, for example, if the main carer of your mother is leaving, maybe she's, you know, going to another city, or for whatever reason, if she's leaving, it's important to know that, because it's going to be a big adjustment for your mother to make, to have another carer. If you are not told that by the clinical staff in social conversation, you could well miss that information and not find that out for months later. So if you know that your mother is having a new carer, then you can introduce her to the new carer, say goodbye and thank you to the old wonderful carer, and help her in that transition. There's so many transitions for the dementia resident to make, and the more that you're upskilled on and informed about these transitions, then you can help your mother more easily with them. So I've written these 2 books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, all about these topics are in the epilogues, the second half of both books, laid out neatly, nicely, well written, clear. And so if you're a reader, you can go onto Amazon to get these books on hard copy, soft copy, and the popular ebook, or my website, description below, pietavalentine.com. www.pietavalentine.com. There's radio interviews there, a bit on my background, and the videos are there too, just the initial first 20 videos on each book. So thank you for your looks and your likes and your support. And also with the videos on the website, there's no ads, of course. So if you like that, then you can scroll through and look at those. So thank you for your support and your subscriptions. And please subscribe. If you like these videos and are viewing them, please pass on the links and please subscribe. I really appreciate that, to be able to get these small platforms up and running, hopefully. Thank you.